Hi, hello, welcome to Spell a Day. We're covering a spell every single day from the 5e PHB +3. Those +3 are homebrew spells. We're at +1 at the moment. You can head back and play this to find it. And today's spell is Ice Storm.
Many said it sounded like nothing they've ever heard before.
He said, "Kapooya, kapooya!" And your boy, that hell just came in. I looked at opened my door, and I looked out my door and started hitting me in my head. I took out running, ran to my rescue, but then I called my mama to see was she all right.
4th level evocation, casting time of 1 action, range of 300 feet, components of somatic material, a pinch of dust, and a few drops of water. Duration, instantaneous. A hail of rock-hard ice pounds to the ground in a 20-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder centered on a point within range. Each creature in the cylinder must make a dexterity saving throw. A creature takes 2d8 bludgeoning damage and 46 cold damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. Hailstones turn the storm's area of effect into difficult terrain until the end of your next turn. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 5th level or higher, the bludgeoning damage increases by 1d8 for each slot level above 4th. Oh, that spell level. First off, things in an advantage. 300 feet! Wow! I know there are spells that do have longer ranges, but for your general combat or damage spell, it's maybe 120, 150 feet, like Fireball, Hunger Vidar, 150 feet. 300 being twice that amount? If you're just going for range, this definitely outclasses it, but you're not most of the time. At what point in your usual game are you trying to hit a creature from 300 feet away? Is what I'm trying to think. Or dungeons. We have some split damage dice, namely 2d8 bludgeoning, 4d6 ice, or frost, and then difficult terrain for 1 turn. 20-foot radius, pretty decent to have for difficult terrain, as someone brought up as well for Hunger of Vidar. But for only 1 round, because here's the issue I have with this. When it comes to difficult terrain stuff, or something like Grease, if you're doing this in a choke point, that's great, that's fine. A nice setup or a warding off, stay out of here, like a consistent effect like Hunger of Vidar. But when it's 1 round, and it also does damage, the spell wants you to target a creature first. Which, to be fair, yes, they're gonna have to use some of their movement to then move out of it, but to maximize the difficult terrain part of it, especially since it's only for 1 round, I guess that's why. It's not a consistent raining down of frost, it's just more something thrown in. The half-price deal thrown in on top, like, hey, you also get difficult terrain. It's not the main feature. So if that's the case, the main feature needs to be the damage type, or the damage itself, which is trying to hit, which, weird shaped area? Not necessarily weird, but it's just so proportioned to be like almost a rectangle. Yes, it's a cylinder, but you know what I mean, 20 foot, 40 foot. Wait a minute. No, that is just, it's a 40-foot diameter with a 40-foot height. That is almost a square. It is a square. That is one benefit of this over Fireball, is it's hitting the same ground area, but then also hitting 40 foot up, and not in a sphere where it domes off to an extent. It just hits this huge block of area. So good if you're fighting flying creatures, and want to hit ground creatures as well. Because you can still hit Fireball in the air against a bundle of creatures, but then if there's also ground forces, some more diversity in the area that you can actually affect. Which would be worth an upcast if it wasn't for the damage. 2d8 bludgeoning, 46 ice, or frost, dang it. It's not even frost, it's cold. I'm gonna get those mixed up anyway. Dex save, 46, 2d8, compared to the 8d6 of just the level before, in exchange for, well, I guess what you're upcasting this for, you're not necessarily upcasting, but you're spending a higher level spell slot on the fact it's a damage type that's not fire, it's bludgeoning and cold, it's that massive area that also has a lot of verticality to it, in addition to, oh, now I think about that. Oh, the area is difficult terrain. I didn't think about that. The area is difficult terrain. Meaning the storm's going for the whole round. So as the hail's falling in the air, that's disadvantage for the flying creatures as well. I thought it was just the ground. 40 foot tall, 20 foot radius now is beginning to seem a bit more decent for just 1 round. I'm beginning to get an image in my head of what this is for because of the additional 300, well, not additional, but the 300 foot range on top of all this. Upcast, get additional d8 of bludgeoning, that's fine. What the spell is for stopping cavalry charges or armies. This is a battlefield spell. It has massive range, so you can cast it from a distance, and on a flank, massive area, so it can get ground forces disadvantage, so it stops any charging or movement, and now you can adjust to move your troops in that direction, but also, because it's a fantasy setting, this also gives it advantage to flying creatures as well. This is on a battlefield placing a blizzard token in a certain area, and any troops in that area are now having to deal with slowed, not actually, but less movement, and then damage. The damage is not the main feature of this spell. The main feature is area denial in the sense of movement in that round, enough for you to adjust, and it's such a long ways away that you will have that time to adjust. Does it actually make it worth it? To an adventurer, and even in the case of some battlefield spell, the fact it's an area, such a large area, in a player's hands, the general adventurer's hands, that's not going to be seeing that kind of use, or necessarily that scenario use. 6 out of 10. At late levels, 4th level isn't that bad to spend on something. You're already probably going to be upcasting Fireball or Lightning Bolt in that case. And when you don't have that range, good to have something that's double that. Though in that ambush scenario or from that range, how often is this difficult terrain going to come up? Namely because the setting scenario and the player scenario, there are situations where this will come in use, which is range, entire vertical area of effect, and slowing someone for a round. Yes, difficult terrain, not actual slow, but you know what I mean. It's just not the damage spell, and because it's being compared to fire... I mean, look, I even compared it to Fireball at first. But that's not what this spell is. It's a weird mix.